Today, we're talking about how aging parents can age in place. And all that means is they can stay in their home for as long as possible, hopefully, their entire lives. Sometimes that's not possible as our aging parents begin to decline in ways that it's not safe any longer for them to be at home, especially alone or even with some services in the home. But we want them to age in place as long as possible. So I would like to share with you guys today some things that you may consider if you have aging parents that you are kind of concerned about or you're thinking about the future. What are some things that you could do to keep them in their home? And one is modifications. So there are some things that you can do. Widening of the doors. You want to have the doors wide enough, and I don't know why they ever made door frames so narrow, that you can't get a wheelchair through them or even a rolling walker. And we do not want to create more problems for them. So we want to have those doors widened. So if they live in an older home, they probably have more narrow doors. So that's something to consider. And it's probably not anything that you want to do last minute. If you're thinking about it, hey, they've kind of slowed down. They do use a cane when they're out walking. This could potentially lead to needing a rolling walker or even a wheelchair, which requires more width to come in and out safely. We do not want them falling. So whatever you can do, widening those doors is one thing you can do. When I built a house for my parents years ago, I made sure that the doors were wide enough for them. They were fine at the time, no problems, no issues at all. But I knew they were going to be getting older, and I just wanted those doors wide enough that they could have easy access in and out in case they needed a walker or maybe they needed a wheelchair. So just something to keep in the forefront of your mind. A walk-in shower, that's another big one. My mom loved to take baths, but it just got to a point, it's dangerous. Picking the leg up, trying to get in, then it's super wet, slick inside. That's just not good as we age. I know people love baths, but you need to have at least a walk-in shower in that home with as low of a entry access as possible, curbless if you can. Just flush to the floor if possible. If not, the lower the better, because if they have to step up very far, it's easy to stub their toe, and then you have another issue. They've fallen in the tub, and now or the shower, and we have a problem. That's a problem too. But when you're thinking about having that shower, what you can do is you could put railings up so they have something to hold on to getting in and out. You could have a seat in there. If it's not built in, you can buy them that are stationary. You could just put them so they have a place to sit while they bathe. You could get the handheld shower, so it can hang down. They don't even have to stand. They could just sit and do all their business without any risk of falling, dry off and everything before they step out. So that is another one to consider. I think raised toilet seats are a necessity at some point for most people. I know normal toilets, if you were in Lowe's or Home Depot, toilets are short. I mean, I don't even understand it. Go to a restroom at some restaurants, and it's like you feel 3 inches off of the ground. And that is not good as we age. So anything to elevate that toilet seat for them so they can get up and down, because if they start to become weaker, can't really get up off of it very easily, a raised toilet seat could be a game changer for them, especially the ones with the armrest, so they can not just to have something to rest their arms on, but when they get ready to stand up, they can push up with that, and it's safe. So that's another one. I think that is, like I said, a game changer. Bedroom modifications. Let's talk about that for a minute. Adjustable bed. You can get an adjustable bed, because what happens a lot of times nowadays, not so much. When I was a kid growing up, beds were low. So the problem was getting off the bed, right? Getting up and down off the bed because it was so low. So having strength to be able to push yourself off of it. That happens as people age. So you want to think about adjustable beds, but now a lot of people have the really tall beds. So getting into bed's an issue sometimes. Can we get our leg up? Do we have to sit and then twist around to get into the bed? You have to think about those things as people get older, because you don't want them slipping off of a bed if it's too high, or not being able to get up if it's too low. So just think about those things. You can have install grab bars in the bedroom as well. Something near the bed that could help them get up and down off of the bed. And you can use bed rails. If, you're afraid at night they're going to roll off the bed, you can put railings up. And they don't have to be complete railings. You can buy the ones that are just at the top. And then that also helps them to be able to roll over in the bed, something to pull on and get themselves around. Please make sure their rooms are clutter-free. That we don't think about stuff like that, but try to clear the clutter and put out all the rugs, guys. In the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the bedroom. As people age, especially if they're using a rolling walker, even a cane, anything that can trip them up needs to be out of the house. It needs to go. And I know we think, oh, the rug, it's easier to walk on. If it is not carpet, if it is a rug on top of something, you don't need to have that in the house, especially if they've already fallen. Just get it out, because that is just a disaster waiting to happen. Another thing you guys could consider are medical alert options. So what are they? They're things that they can wear, pendant on their wrist, kind of a necklace. That's what my granny had, the one that went around your neck and you had to press the button. So if you had an issue, that lady, I've fallen, I can't get up. If you know that commercial, drop it in the comments, guys, to let me know. It's been a minute, but I bet there's some of you listening that are around my age that saw that commercial a lot. And in fact, my mom always said that looks like Patsy, and that was her sister. I always thought that was funny. So they usually have a button to press. There's home-based systems, so it's a system that's built into the home, but they still have to press a button. So if it's not in every room, I'm not really sure, guys, how that works, to be honest. I just know it's home-based, so it's kind of like a phone, like the old-timey phones, landlines. So if the Wi-Fi goes out, I can't use my phone or whatever. Cellular's down, I can't use my phone. But if you have a landline, you can call someone. Same thing with this device. It's for sure you can get through to someone. But if it's just in one room and you fall in another room, but if it's in every room, then that could be a game changer too. So that's just another option for you. They have mobile systems that people can wear that do run off of cellular and GPS. So if they like to go on walks and you notice they're getting a little unsteady, but they still want to go on those walks, they could wear a device such as this. And if they were to fall, they can call for help. And that just gives them still that autonomy and that freedom to go and feel secure in knowing if I do have an issue, I have my device and I can just press this and they can find me because it has GPS, which is pretty cool. I like this one, automatic fall detection. Now, I've never known anyone to have this in their home or their parents' homes, but if it works, this sounds amazing. It auto detects a fall. So if you fall and can't get to a phone or you can't get to the button to press it, it calls for you. I think that's pretty amazing. And it initiates the help. So it calls and gets an ambulance or whomever to send to you. So just when you're talking to your parents as they're aging, just talk to them, have a conversation. Hey, what are you comfortable with? I notice we're having some issues with some mobility and, those kinds of things. Are you okay if we do A, B, and C? But again, I always encourage people, have those conversations early. The earlier, the better, because sometimes when they get in a situation and they're still at home, they want to stay at home, they don't hear you as clearly because all they really hear sometimes is, oh, they think I'm falling apart, and eventually they're going to try to put me someplace. That's just kind of the mindset. I think that's kind of the path of their thinking sometimes, but not always. But I think sometimes that's what happens. They think, oh, they're trying to tell me what to do. So if you have that conversation early, when they're physically fit, marbles are all in the bag, and they say, oh, yeah, I would love to have A, B, and C. But no, I'm not interested in X, Y, and Z. And that way have it in writing so you can say, look, this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted, remember? And hopefully it will stop the friction, and help you to not have issues as they do begin to have maybe some decline that you're noticing, and it makes you worry. Because I'll tell you, my granny had, like I mentioned earlier, she had the one around her neck that you press the button if you fall. She hated it. She only wore it because the girls wanted her to have it. She didn't want it, and that's why she didn't wear it probably 25% of the time. And that is another thing that you have to think about with the wearables. If it's something they're not interested in, then they may not wear it, So you just have to have those conversations. So let's transition a little bit and talk about in-home care services. That's going to depend on finances. Now, if money is not an issue, which it is for most people, you can hire whomever to help your aging parent to age in place. Not an issue. And we'll talk about some of those things. But for most people, money is limited. And when they run out of money, what are the options? What's left, right? So there's a thing called companion care. And it's just what it says. They come into the home for companionship, social interaction, especially if someone's, say the husband has passed away or the wife's passed away and it's just one of your parents living alone, somebody to come in and spend time with them. A little quality time, 2 or 3 times a week, every day if you have the funds for it, but at least 2 or 3 times a week, and it keeps them stimulated. And they can participate in leisure activities, maybe go for a stroll with them, maybe do some gentle exercises. You need to know who that person is, though, that's coming into the home. Do your research, ask a lot of questions, and before you just let somebody in. There's lots of companies out there. Check out those companies as well. Look at the reviews, see what people are saying before you make a decision. Read together, play board games together, even doing some baking together. That's a fun activity. And these are things that certain companies do provide for your aging parent that allows them to continue to live at home. Now, another issue a lot of times that happens for people as they age, they don't see as well. And we all, I think about by the age of 40-ish, 45, we all start to see a little differently. But as we age, that's a decline as well. So maybe they don't want to drive. They can't see as well. Maybe they have a little mobility. Maybe they have neck issues and they can't really turn their head like they should when they're driving. They just don't feel like it's safe anymore to drive. So there's transportation assistance out there, guys. They can help your senior get to doctor appointments, go to the grocery store, get her hair done, get his hair done, do they have barbershops? I think they still have barbershops. I think a lot of men go to the salon. Let me know if you have an aging parent that's your dad. Does he go to a salon to get a haircut, or does he still go to a barbershop? My dad did both. He went to the barbershop and he would go to the salon as well. I remember going to the barbershop as a kid. I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing. Those chairs, I loved sitting in those chairs. And the guy would do that thing with the blade, to shave. It was a cool experience. Another thing that we want to look at is in-home care that can be provided. So what else? If it's Medicare, Medicaid, maybe something's happened, they're getting a little home health coming in. Again, research those companies as well. Ask around. If you go, if you have a community that you're a part of, ask, who have you used in the past? Who would you recommend? And people will tell you if they had a good experience or not such a good experience with certain companies. But they can help with mobility, assistance, transfers, walking, all those things, personal hygiene, bathing, toileting, grooming, all those things. We want them to be crisp and fresh. And again, I'm going to talk about my granny. I love my granny very much. She was funny as all get out, little old bitty thing. She had a lady that would come, and her name was Beanie. Isn't that a fun name, Beanie? Beanie was sweet. We all loved Beanie, but she would come 3 or 4 hours a day. Sometimes she might cook a little, help Granny take a shower, but mostly Beanie slept on the couch. But hey, Granny was doing word puzzles in her chair, so Granny didn't care. Now, most of the time, people probably don't want them sleeping in the house, but Beanie kind of became family. So I think it was kind of acceptable. But these people can come in and give them companionship as well, some social interaction, and if someone, let's say, is still living in their home. They're aging. Granny was aging in place, but her girls lived with her. So that's still aging in place. She never left her house. She wasn't going to leave her house. So that's still aging in place. It just looks a little different. It's not complete independence, but how are we able to keep her in her home? Beanie came, I want to say at least 3 to 5 times a week. It stayed 3 or 4 hours. So my aunts that stayed Monday through Friday, they could go do whatever they wanted to do for those hours. And then they were off on the weekends, and my mom and another sister would stay with Granny. Granny had 13 kids. Just FYI there. And I do think that when you do end up, if you want your parents to age in place and you live with them, that if there's 12 of you, there's going to be 2 or 3 that do most of it. That's just the way it is. I don't know why, but that's the same thing with my dad. It was the same with him caring for his parents. So there are things out there for them, even as they decline, to continue to age in home. Meal planning, meal prepping, setting medication reminders. Again, I mentioned housekeeping and laundry, like Beanie would vacuum or mop, whatever needed to be done. She would help Granny do that. Well, Granny would supervise. Let's just say that. Granny would supervise and Beanie would do it. So help your aging parents, man, to continue to be able to stay in home. I don't know why I said man, but we're going to continue to roll with this. Telehealth, remote, doing those things online has really helped people to be able to stay in their homes, especially if they don't drive and they're not really interested in all that transportation. They'd rather do things from home more often than not. Telehealth visits, remote monitoring devices, those things are so available and readily available for people now. And what I'm talking about are things like things that track your vital signs, health metrics at home, things that you would have to go to the doctor back in the day to get your blood pressure taken, or your sugar levels, if you're diabetic, to get a monitor to check that. You would have to go in. Now you can do all that at home. You can have a pulse ox at home to check your O2 stats. So many things. Smartwatches check so many different metrics for people as well. There's a ring that you can wear that does that. They say it's better than the smartwatches because it's on your finger and not your wrist. But nonetheless, fitness trackers, all those things help us to kind of monitor. And you can share those with your primary care physician, which is very cool. I think that's very cool. Saves them a trip to the doctor's office. So another thing is assistive devices. Now, I'm not a physical therapist, but again, I worked with a lot of them, and they've shared a lot of things with me over the years when we worked in the hospitals together. But some assistive devices are just mobility aids, so canes, walkers, rolling walkers, those are different, wheelchairs, scooters, whatever they need to help them be independent as possible. There are things available for them that they can use in the home. Again, another reason that you want the wide doors so you can get those things in and out of the house. Provide support and stability too, and they also help decrease the fall risk. Fall risks, that's huge. I've mentioned it in other podcasts. Every year, 300 to 350,000 people fracture a hip. 86% of those people, according to Johns Hopkins, 86% are over the age of 65. I don't know if you guys know this, but in 2030, I know I can't even believe I'm saying that, but in 2030, all the baby boomers will be 65 and older. And we will have, at that time, 71 million baby boomers. That is a lot of baby boomers. That's a lot of people on the healthcare system. And the healthcare system is already fractured in so many ways. So the more that we can be proactive and prevent things from happening and encourage our parents as young as possible to do things, and we talked about that, eat more protein, lift heavy things, resistance training to maintain muscle mass, and build bone density, the better off they will be in the long term. With mobility, getting in and out of the bed, on and off the toilet, all those things, those activities of daily living. Because the mortality rate of people over 65 that have a fractured hip, it's very high. Can't recall what it is right now, but I did find a study, and they looked at the 1-year mortality rate of people, I think it was 100 people, that they did have surgery, had it repaired. 21% did not live past a year. My dad broke his hip, and he passed right under 2 years. So it's a big deal. It is a big deal. And the more that we can help our parents now from a proactive stance, the better off it will be for them and for us as potential caregivers, because we want them to have quality of life. That is the number one thing. Quality of life is so important. There's a couple things I want to mention that I think is important. Medication management. There's tools out there because it's important. They take their meds. You know, if they have high blood pressure, diabetes, whatnot, they need to take their medication. Maybe they're starting to have some memory issues. Maybe they're on certain medication for that. Of course, there's pill organizers. You know, the old-timey, you pick it up at Target, Walmart, Walgreens, all those places, Monday through Sunday, right? And then one day you look and there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They just took the weekend off. They're just taking the weekend off, not taking their meds. What's up with that, Mom? What's up with that, Dad? And you're thinking, okay, this is not working any longer. Well, you know, there's an it's an automated system, and it kicks out their medications at the right time and the right dose. And you can get those, and they come with a built-in alarm, and you can set a timer. So when it goes off, they know, hey, it's time to take my medication. Now, if you are thinking, well, if I have to have an automatic pill dispenser for my parents with an alarm, then we have more fish to fry than just they're taking their meds or not. Well, remember, we're trying to help them age in place. So we want to do whatever we can to help them do that and be successful for as long as possible. What I would recommend if it were my parents, I lost both of my parents. I had caregiving journeys with both of them. My dad passed in 2007 and my mom September 2020. But if they were still here and we were trying to keep them in the house, at home, I would have Ring cameras in their home, and I would have access to those Ring cameras that I knew when that bell would go off for them to take that medication, and I would watch the camera. I know it sounds tedious, but I think that's a great way, instead of having to run over to the house and make sure they took that medication, then you could just watch on the camera, and then you could call. You know, there's ways to help them to be successful. And not just feel like, oh, I can't do anything. They have to do everything for me. We want them to be as independent as possible so that they can stay in their home and be happy, be happy. So I hope that was beneficial to you guys. I hope it was helpful. Thanks for joining us as we talked about aging in place. I want you to think about joining us next week, because we're going to be talking about some cognitive things that you could do with your parents to keep them cognitively fit, because that's just as important as the physical issue. If they're physically fit, but cognitively they are having some struggles, that creates a whole nother basket of issues. So we're going to dive deep into that next week. So join us for that. You can find us on Spotify. Obviously, you can catch us here. And if you're interested in joining our new community, Generational Guardians, you can find us on School, SKOOL. It's free until June 1st. Everyone will be grandfathered in that joins. We're going to have a lot of great things going on in there. It's going to be an amazing community. It's under construction, but you can join free now. And I'll put the link in the description and in the comments, so you could do that if you wish. If you have any questions, drop those as well. And if you have any ideas for future episodes that you're interested in, I'd love to hear from you, and we'll do that for you as well. I have some interviews lined up. They're coming. We're just getting people, or end of summer or beginning of summer, people are on break, and so I'm able to get people on the show. So stay tuned. We have people coming, PTs, other speech path, social workers. I want to be able to give you guys access to people. And I think I'm going to put out some things and ask you what questions you want me to ask, because I'm happy to ask some of those as well. So stay tuned, and remember to enjoy the journey, and we'll see you in the next one.